Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and today's fun Christmas scroll saw project video. I have a nice design picked out by Steve Good. It's one of his recent uploads from a few weeks ago. I've already got all the pattern printed out and prepped and attached to our material with clear packing tape, and it's going to be 4 pieces of 1/2 inch material of whatever you have on hand. I am using pine for this design, but of course you could use exotic or woods with different shades and textures and everything. Pine is just what's readily available in my area, and this is going to be a layered project. So we all know what we do with layered projects. I've got a picture of the way it's assembled saved to my phone, so when we get to that procedure I know how it goes together. So really neat. The design depicts a Christmas tree outline, and it's going to ultimately look like a little miniature shadow box. But all 4 layers have some detail in them, and the front layer has a little kid playing with his dog there. The next layer behind that has a nice Christmas snowman there waving for the holidays, and I think this could be a great little standalone project on its own. You know, you could shrink it down and make it into ornaments, but that's always an option with scroll saw projects. The next layer has the house they're playing in front of, and then the back layer has a nice little star on it, and this will be the backer piece that makes it look like a shadow box once it's assembled. Really cool, really getting into the Christmas spirit. And since everything is prepped and prepared, let's move the camera so we can drill all the pilot holes required so we can head over to the scroll saw and start scrolling. And over here on the workbench, we are taking the Seiko Scroller's drill and drilling out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. You will note that I'm using a backer board behind the scroll work. That way it prevents blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. Over here at the scroll saw, I am using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade for all of the cutting on this project, and it will cut through the 1/2 inch piece of pine exceptionally well with minimal chip out. The material I'm using started off as 3/4 inch pine shelving board. I just ran it through the planer and knocked off a 1/4 inch to bring it down to that 1/2 inch thickness. And pine scrolls exceptionally well, as I said, with minimal chip out, which is always good when it comes time to sand it later on in the video. If you guys would like to try this pattern, it's available as a free pattern download over at Steve Good's scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com website over in his free pattern catalog. Going through here, and there is some fairly big final internal cuts on these projects here, like going around the snowman here. So I'm just taking my time and letting the blade do the work. I'm not trying to force the blade into the material. I'm just going through here and cutting everything out. And doing this project with the snowy theme, it reminded me of winters past. I remember my grandfather, when we really got a good snow when I was growing up as a kid, he would take me out and pull me on the sled. And we've got photos of that in the family photo album, and I treasure those memories immensely. But I set that piece aside, and we are beginning with another one, and that's why I like having an L-shaped workbench to work at. I can easily set stuff aside while working on it. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. And I've done all of the internal cuts before releasing all of the pieces from the waste wood. And that's what we will begin doing here after retensioning the blade. And you want to be as loyal as you can to the cut line here. That way when we get to assembly, everything will line up perfectly and look like one uniform piece. And again, there is 4 pieces here. And all 4 pieces had some form of internal cuts to do on them, some a little more than others. But it doesn't take very long to cut this project out. If you're familiar over on a scroll saw, I believe it took me around 25-30 minutes to scroll everything out. And I just had the music on and was enjoying the scroll sawing hobby. Now over here at the workbench we can remove all the pieces from the waste wood and begin to get that visual of what the completed project will look like. But then it will be time for sanding, and I will use 180 grit Klingspor sandpaper in my vibrating palm sander here, and I will use small circular motions to sand everything. And I'm very careful with everything because pine does have a tendency to crack or chip out. So just being careful with all the sanding here. But once everything was sanded, it was time for assembly, and I used CA glue and activator here, and you see I had a picture of how it was assembled saved to my cell phone. And I'm just going through here and gluing the layers, giving them a few seconds to grab with the glue and everything. But after everything was glued up, I still set it aside for 5 minutes to make sure the glue was cured completely so we could proceed to staining and everything. And while the project was drying, I threw all the waste wood into the wood stove to keep the heat going. But after I was sure the CA glue had cured, it was time to stain everything with Minwax wood stain, and this is golden pecan stain. I like how light it is because it allows the natural grain of the wood you're staining to shine through. But we will wipe off the excess and hang it on a hook to dry above the wood stove. And after it was dry, it was time to finish it with several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And after that dried, the project was complete. And here we have the little decorative miniature Christmas tree shadow box cut out completely on the scroll saw, and it finished up amazingly well with some great detail. Thank you, Steve Good, for another fantastic pattern from your pattern catalog. A really great pattern to get into the Christmas season and winter months. Really, really neat. It took me around 25 to 30 minutes to scroll him out. It's not a very difficult pattern. Some of the more tedious details is in the snowman's face, you know, all the little circles for the coal representing his smile and everything. And then the final outside cuts, you need to be as loyal as you can to your cut line to make sure everything assembles properly and looks like one uniform piece of wood. Of course, we used 4 layers of 1/2 inch material. I used pine in this video, and because of the thickness here being 2 inches thick, it can easily freestand on a shelf, desk, or countertop, and I think it's going to look great sitting in the windowsill. So really, really neat. And again, I think a project like this offers a variety of ways to make it as well as finishing options. I use pine because it's readily available in my area. The builder center where I pick it up is a few miles from home, so I don't have to go far during the colder months to pick it up, and it takes paint well, it takes stain exceptionally well. Of course, you could use exotic woods in this and really bring out the colors and grains of everything. And if you're good with acrylic paints, you could go in here and paint everything. I think this project would also look good with maybe a little LED light in there to give it a nice Christmassy glow of color and everything. I stained it with Minwax wood stain. I used golden pecan wood stain because I like how that shade of stain is light enough to allow that natural grain of the wood you're staining to pop through, and then the Rust-Oleum clear gloss at the end really made everything pop and give it a nice glossy sheen. And as always, I took my time and let the blade do the work. And with this being a layered project, of course, I just took my time and followed that cut line, and I was as loyal to it as I could be. And I think this little center layer here with just the snowman waving could be a standalone project of its own. You could make it bigger, and if you have access to a laser cutter, you could shrink it down and make it into little Christmas ornaments. So a lot of versatility and possibilities with scroll saw patterns. This design reminds me, and it reminded me why I was making it, of Christmases past and winters past, like when we would get the occasional snowstorm and we would be out of school and we would all go out and play, of course build a nice little snowman and have the ever popular neighborhood snowball fight. But really, really cool. I'm really happy with how this project came out, and I hope you guys like how it came out. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as to all All my social medias will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one. And remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.